Good morning. We are here for the Legislative and Human Resource Committee meeting. We have several items on our agenda today, and we do have some commissioners that have some interviews after this meeting. So first item on our agenda is public comment. If there's anyone that would like to address the board regarding any item.
How you doing, everybody? Hello? Can y'all hear me? All right, cool. How you doing, everybody? My name is D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary, future billionaire. I'd like to speak to you guys about some of the things that I've been doing. So I finally got the green light to do the esports league, working with the kids on Kent County probation and surveillance. I'm very excited to really, truly be able to develop this esports league and program. I have an official partnership with the NBA. I'll be able to educate the youth on things like life insurance, civics, voting, because I just seen that it was a bill passed in the Senate that allows youth 16.5, 17, 17.5 to pre-register to vote. So if they're Republicans or Democrats, I want these kids to actually get engaged. I don't care about ethnicity or anything like that. I just want these kids to be able to hear their voices be heard, because their voices is just as important as anybody else's in this room. And they possibly will be the people in the future that get you into power. And I'm very excited about the Esports League. I'm excited to connect with Lance from KDL, where I actually connected him to the network of 300 universities across the United States, and we're actually going to be speaking today with that network of 300 universities to see how they can help KDL with their esports initiative that I helped started here in Kent County. I'm very excited about that. I don't know what's going to come from that, but I do know that as of now, I've connected that network of 300 universities to Epic Games, and they do something called a game jam, where universities all across the United States, and they come to a specific university or esports arena, and they develop games, and they find out who can develop the best playable game using the game Fortnite and the educational tools that they have. And so with a larger capacity of 300 universities, there's going to be a lot of colleges that eventually come to a university or a facility across the United States, and they'll compete, and they'll get an opportunity to develop games, and they'll get an opportunity to eventually get hired by those game companies and develop games and work with those game companies. And that's something that we're going to be doing here around Kent County, and something that I'm started, and something that I'll be sure to let people know that this started around Kent County. I'm very excited about that. I also seen that in Santa Barbara County, they have a housing trust fund of Santa Barbara, and the housing trust fund received a grant funding for 3D printing affordable homes, and then they got $575,000 combined from the Chan Zuckerberg initiative from the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments. And I was seeing that, and I was like, all right, that's Mark Zuckerberg's wife. He's a billionaire, but why can't my county 3D print homes? We need 334,699 units. How come we can't 3D print homes? I know we have the funding. I know you guys can legislate and get additional funds. Thank you.
Thank you, D. Jones. Is there anyone that would like to address the committee? Seeing no one, we'll move on to approval of last meeting's minutes. Do I have a motion and support to approve last meeting's minutes? Moved by LeGrand, supported by Bujak. Any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, say no. Last meeting's minutes have been approved. Next item on our agenda, Kent County Veterans Service, Martha Burgett.
I'm Martha Burkett. I'm the manager of Kent, can you hear me?
Yes.
Of Kent County Veterans Services, and I'm really pleased and happy to be here today to tell you about what's gone on in the last year and a little bit beyond that. But basically, our millage was passed in the fall of 2022, which was really exciting, and we had a lot of support from Mr. Burrell in that effort, and other people in the community, a ton of support, but that really makes it possible to forge ahead. We're most proud of connecting veterans and their families to the benefits that they've earned so that they can get disability benefits, burial benefits, spousal benefits, aid and attendance, those kinds of things. But in recent years, our effort has been in what we call creative outreach. And on the screen here, you can see that we didn't start these all this year, but we continued these all this year. But I wanted to do a breakdown of what's paid for with millage funds as opposed to MVAA funds, because we get millage funds that support our program, and we also get opportunities to apply for grant funds from the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. So I do that every year, and we come up with some kind of creative initiatives that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do otherwise. And we get a lot of support from the MVAA, and actually a lot of shout-outs from the MVAA that other counties are wishing that they were doing what we're doing. But anyhow, we implemented a position. This is the third year, actually, for the Veteran Support Coordinator, and that position is funded by millage funds. It's a contract position, and that person was put in place to be a resource for veterans and their families, and also community stakeholders where they could call if they have any question at all about veteran benefits or family benefits. That person can either connect them within our office or to our community partners outside of our office. But it's not just here's a phone number, call this number. It's really a warm handoff. So the person in that position, Kenyon Vickery, has relationships with all of the stakeholders, first name basis. Everybody knows him and he knows everybody. So it's designed to kind of create a web of support for veterans with us at the hub. And that's been kind of a vision for the last 5 years, and we're there now, which is really exciting, and that continues to grow. That's supported by millage funds. Our wellness program, we do art workshops that are funded by millage funds. We do the Art Prize Veterans Art exhibit every year, and this will be our 4th year in Veterans Memorial Park. That is funded by the MVAA, so there's a distinction there. The Equine Assisted Experiences, we have a local resource here in town that we're using, and that's paid for with millage funds. And we do auricular AccuDetox, which I'm happy to tell you more about that if you have questions about that, but that's funded by the MVAA and offered at our office once a week. We have a recreation program that is really robust. We're very proud of this. We contract with a company called Veterans Rising. They provide activities like canoeing, bowling, family picnics, camping, hiking. They actually did a blacksmithing class. They did all kinds of skill buildings and activities. And so it's nice because it's family friendly. All these things are free for veterans, and it helps to build this community for veterans that centers around Kent County Veterans Services. Community programs, we implemented a veteran-specific substance use disorder treatment program. We contract with Arbor Circle. This will be our 3rd year doing that. That's free for veterans, and there is a family component to that program. We offer free dental care for veterans at My Community Dental Centers. That is also paid for with millage funds. We have free house cleaning for disabled veterans. That is funded by the MVAA. Funding for disability advocates, senior neighbors, Degage, My Community Dental Centers, Community Rebuilders, all supported by the millage. And then the Veterans Treatment Court, we help provide funding to them that is also millage funded. We have continued to do our female-specific activities. This is actually a photo of female veterans. Amy Batchelder is the leader of Veterans Rising, but art workshops, picnics, skill building, crafting, equine retreats, all kinds of things. And we've done so far 3 annual Female Veterans Appreciation celebrations, and we'll continue that into the next year. And that is the recreation program is MVA funded, but the appreciation celebrations are millage funded. And this graph represents kind of the relationships between the numbers of claims and the numbers of participants in our creative outreach programs, and also the numbers of appointments that we've done. And we started with 2021. Of course, that was the end of COVID, and that was a pretty quiet year. We were still doing a lot of remote work. People were doing appointments only virtually. We weren't having in-person clients hardly at all. And then the following year, we're back in the office, but we also have the technology to work from home. So we have people doing remote work, but also in the office. And we got a new software program called VetPro that really facilitates the claims process. It speeds things up so much because we're able to actually enter the application, the claims application ourselves, as opposed to sending it to the VA and then waiting 6 weeks for them to push it through. So it's been really helpful. And also with that program, we have the ability to have people do electronic signatures and stuff like that. So there are fewer in-person appointments required, but we're able to do more appointments. So basically, the correlation here is if you look, the green line that's going up on an angle, that's the program participants in our outreach activities. So 2021, it was 95, 347 last year, and this year to date, 557. The claims processed, 195, 287, 435 this year so far. And then with the appointments, again, 381, 1228, and 1277 so far this year. So we can't say that one thing causes the other, but all of these things are interrelated, because if people are exposed to us by coming in to get their benefits, then they learn about the veteran community and the supports and activities that are available, and vice versa. If they go to the outreach stuff, then they learn about, oh, gee, you guys do that there too? Oh, we could file for benefits, we can whatever, we can get dental care, that kind of thing. So it's a nice kind of a marriage of the programs, and they support each other. And the most important thing is that the numbers are going up. So we're reaching more people and doing more good stuff in the community. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
Hello, good afternoon. So in this graph, what I wanted to show is the amount of benefit payments we've brought into the county over this last year compared to what our budget was. Our budget is that orange line going through, and then the blue bars are how much in disability payments, non-service connected disability payments for the veterans and the veterans' families that have come into this county. And we're at this year so far, $3 million coming in to be spent in our communities from our veterans that help them with their housing, help them with everything they need under the sun. And that's what we've brought into this county this year alone, which has actually gone up from the last 2 years. So that is really good for us. The next slide is for the other side of our office, which is for the Soldier and Sailors Relief Emergency Fund. And showing, and what I really wanted to show here is the correlation between the last slide and this one about the more money we're bringing in the county, the less veterans who are sitting in crisis, sitting in housing crisis, sitting in not being able to pay their bills. That's what SSR is there for. And as that goes down, we're showing that the veterans are not needing as much of that crisis help than they have in the past years. And this year it has gone down much from the year before. So that is really, really good news for us. And it shows a lot of hard work in our office and the help of this board that we're able to do that. So thank you. Thank you.
The other thing I would say about this is that I think that having the Veteran Support Coordinator in place has helped our SSR go down too, because if veterans call and they have needs that can be supported by other community agencies, we're making those referrals, and so more of their needs are being met. Because it's if somebody calls us and they need a food voucher, chances are they need something else. And it may be something we can provide and maybe it's not, but we're going to help them get to it, which in effect lifts them up. Top priorities in 2024, we're working on diversity and inclusion. We want to increase the numbers of LGBTQ plus veterans accessing services. Want to increase the numbers of veterans of color accessing services. Continue to work collaboratively with community partners to address veterans homelessness. Increase the numbers of completed satisfaction surveys. That's one of the things that we have implemented, but it hasn't really launched. And this year we put a lot of effort into trying to make sure that happens more effectively and efficiently. And then continue to provide access to benefits, emergency funds, and wraparound support for veterans and their families.
All right, commissioners, do we have any comments, questions? Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for being here for the presentation. Veterans are certainly, high priority for this commission. And in looking at the numbers, it's nice to see that we're heading in a positive direction with all these things. I did have a question regarding the funding that comes in. You said there's $2 million What was the number? Is it 2
3
million?
million.
3 million.
3 million?
3 million
Where
so
did-
far
where does
this
that-
year.
And where does that funding come from?
That's from actual disability payments from the federal government that comes in for veterans' disability payments.
So it's not from the county, it's from the
No.
federal?
No, it's the other way. It's, so what the orange line was in there was what our budget is from the millage. And then I was showing the return on investment basically of all the federal money we're bringing into the county through the
our
disability
efforts.
payments directly to the
So when you
veterans.
say you're bringing it in, I mean, that sounds interesting. What do you mean by bringing
Well,
it
by
in?
doing, what our office does, we do service-connected disability claims as a VSO, Veteran Service Officer. So we do the paperwork to help the veterans be able to get those benefits they've earned. So, yeah, that's what our main goal is. So when we get those disability payments coming in to the veterans.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to say that I participated in the Veterans Green Light program
yay.
here last month. And I have 3 green lights and they're still on. They're very Christmassy. So
Well, it's
along with all my
apropos.
Christmas lights, I got my veterans lights on.
Cool.
You need some red ones, Commissioner Boujak.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for your support.
Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, helping veterans get what they're entitled to is just such important work, and it sounds like you're doing a wonderful
Thank you.
job, just helping them navigate all of that red tape, which is, it's so frustrating and so difficult, so thank you for doing that. I just wanted to see if you could just elaborate a little bit more on some of the issues that you just touched on, like housing and homelessness among veterans. So what are you seeing? Are you seeing increased numbers of homelessness? Are you seeing increased difficulty finding housing? What are you seeing?
Well, in our office, that's kind of actually outside of our purview.
Okay.
The way that we support homeless veterans is through our Sailors and Soldiers Relief Fund and through the other resources that we just described to you. And we work closely with other community agencies for whom that is their primary focus. And we work hand in hand together with them. So, and also by helping homeless veterans get attached to the benefits that they've earned, then that brings income to them, which then can help increase their quality of life. But if they come to us and they're homeless, one of the issues is for Sailors and Soldiers Relief, they have to have an address, which is kind of a conundrum, right? But what we do is we work with community rebuilders, Healthcare for Homeless Vets, and we'll send the vets there. And once they can get on a waiting list and get an address, then they can come back for our services. So we kind of work together with them. We give money to community rebuilders for their Beautifully Home project, which is for homeless veterans and their families. And that money is spent to buy beds because they can provide household goods that are used, but things that have to be brand new are beds and mattresses. So we provide that. We also pay for cleaning supplies, basic household goods, that kind of thing. So those are different ways that we support veterans in the community who are homeless. Go ahead, Ryan.
And also for the Soldiers Sailors Relief, what happens with community rebuilders is when they find housing, they'll come back to us, and through Soldiers Sailors Relief, we will pay for their first month's rent and security deposit
Right.
to get them into that place, which then a lot of times when they're under the HUD-VASH program, they don't pay for that up front. We do. So then HUD-VASH takes over from there so they can continue their housing.
Right.
And that's really our role in that.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
sure.
All right, any other commissioners' comments or questions? I guess I have a few. I have a son just December 18th. He will be done serving his time in the Marine Corps out of Camp Pendleton. And again, as a parent, Administrator Vanderburg can say the same thing. I think you think you're patriotic, but when you have a son or daughter serve in the military, that patriotism kind of skyrockets a little bit.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious on the average age of, do you have an average age of your typical veteran that's coming to you? And then how do we reach out to the younger veterans? It seems like to be a little disconnect there, not just, in that community in a whole. When I visit, whether it's a Legion Hall that
Yeah.
seems to have a much older crowd,
Yeah.
or even some veteran services. So what are we doing to reach out to those younger veterans?
Well, in to answer the first question, the majority of veterans that come and see us are between probably 45 and 65, 70, something like that. When I first started here, that was part of the push, was trying to reach younger veterans and their families, and that was kind of where this whole creative outreach came in. It's like, let's find ways to engage with them that in social ways, bring them together with other veterans where they're doing something healthy and wholesome and fun that isn't centered around sitting at a bar somewhere. And so in our recreation program, it is filled with younger veterans. And then as a result of being in these different programs, the art program attracts a lot of younger veterans. The recreation program attracts a lot of younger veterans. And so if they haven't already connected with their disability benefits, then at least they learn about it. We have staff people at all of these outreach activities, so that there's always somebody there who can answer questions and kind of pipe up and say, hey, do you know we do that at Veteran Services? Or, oh my gosh, you haven't filed your claim, well, come on down. Or you're bored on weekends, look at this. We have all these things going on, right? So it's kind of, that's how it grows. But we also have contracts with the 3 TV stations, and we know that the people who are watching the TV tend to be the older veterans, but the people who are engaging in the social media and the electronic aspect of that, so it's not just TV advertisement, it's also a Facebook, a social media presence through each of the news stations, and then interactive, young people know how to click and use their phones and search and that kind of thing. So we get reports from the different TV stations that come back and tell us about the program utility, like how many clicks are we getting on this. So it's kind of a split. We get older people watching TV who come in and say, oh, we saw you on TV the other day. And I'm telling you, this green light thing that we did, and we had Reggie Ferrier from our office, it was our spokesperson, he's like a celebrity. I mean, for the next 2 weeks, people were coming in and asking specifically for him because they saw him on TV. Oh, he seems like such a great guy. So everybody in the office gets opportunity to go out and do outreach. And we have, younger veterans that work for us. So they go out and they do the handshaking and the greeting people and just meeting people, and it helps. It's helping to grow our numbers for sure.
So I guess I have another question. When I go out to visit my son, it seems like it's a melting pot of all sorts of different kinds of people. So I see the different outreaches that you're trying to do, but more importantly, when I go there, I see there's a huge minority, influence and active duty that I see. How are those numbers here in Kent County as far as those demographics that you see?
Well, we also have a large number of people of color, and they are underrepresented in terms of getting claims from us. We're working on trying to join with other grassroots agencies that are focused in that way on people of color, on the LGBTQ, that kind of thing, trying to build relationships with those veteran groups. And like Heroes Corner is one where it's not only African-American veterans or people of color that go there, but there are a lot of them who go there. There are more who gather there than at other places that we know of. And so we send art workshops out there. And we do that. That's been a popular thing. And we make sure that they know about our recreational activities. And we have an outreach coordinator who actually, and Kenyon, the Veterans Support Coordinator, also does outreach. So we have a lot of kind of tentacles out in the community. And with the LGBTQ, I went to a VA training here at Western Michigan University not long ago, and I sat in a session with, he was actually an LGBTQ plus representative from the VA. He's like one person in the VA that has this role, from what I understand. So I set up an in-person meeting or a one-on-one meeting with him, and we spent about an hour and a half talking about how can I get my staff to be thinking, what can we do in our office to represent that we're a safe space? Can we get our committee members trained and that kind of thing? So we're working at it. And it's intentional and it's purposeful, and we're kind of at the beginning of it,
Wonderful. I appreciate that. Serving on that Veterans Renewal Committee, Commissioner Sparks and I were both on that, and Commissioner Ponstein was on that as well. It's a very well-organized group of individuals that have a lot of influence, and it was nice to see that involvement. So again, appreciate all the work that you do, and keep it up, and let us know what we can do to help.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, fiscal services. Jeff?
Good morning, Chair Burrow and Commissioners. Glad to be here today to go over our performance measures and fiscal services. While we don't have a lot of the outreach to other outside organizations that was just presented by Veteran Services, we do serve all of our internal customers with everything we do, which enhances the goals of the county. Whoops, I hit that too quickly. So we're going to follow some of the traditional presentations, so highlight fiscal services vision and mission and its alignment with the board's priorities, strategic goals, and key performance metrics. And we're going to highlight recent accomplishments and look ahead to 2024. Fiscal services mission is to provide all county departments and other local units of government provide services to them. In doing so, our department indirectly supports all of the board's priorities. We're made up of 5 divisions framed in the blue boxes on this slide, 32 employees that provide a variety of service, and not all which are financial in nature, like risk management, fleet services, and the fire commission. So as we look to the goals and performance metrics, keep in mind 2023 numbers are just through the 9-month fiscal year. You can see here on this slide that the AP team paid 40,974 invoices totaling $275.9 million. 99.8% of these were processed on time without error. So we do pay a lot of money out through the county throughout the year, so $276 million. And that's through 9 months again. Payroll team issued 36,000 payroll checks totaling $123.6 million in 23. 99.8% of those were processed on time without error, which is very important to our employees. The budget division processes 542 budget amendments in 23. 99.82% of those were processed on time without error, so we're meeting our goal there. Purchasing division issued 155 solicitations, averaging 5 responses per solicitation. And this is important. We try to get a lot of outreach done, as you'll see in a little bit, some of the things the purchasing has done to support our vendor community, and minimum of 5 to make sure we have diverse supplier people bidding on our contracts. I'm going to stop here real quickly. Cal's going to be mad at me, but he is in the room, so I'd like to congratulate Cal on his 20-plus years of service. He is retiring mid-December, if you hadn't heard, so congratulations to Cal. And those will be big shoes to fill. So, Fleet division is under purchasing right now. Perform preventative maintenance on 95% or 308 of the vehicles and equipment in our fleet. And you can see over time we've gone from 2010 up over 100 vehicles. So our fleet continues to grow. In our fleet garage, as you'll see a picture of here as one of our accomplishments, our new facility will serve this well. So this is metric is to reduce lost work days due to occupational incidents. You can see here our workers' comp lost work days were 1,183. You can see a spike in 21. A lot of those were COVID related. We don't see as many of those now, and I believe we're ending our COVID workers' comp leave at the end of this year. So a good trend downward in our lost work days. Some of our significant accomplishments: state law requires that all local units of government complete its audit and publish its annual comprehensive report within 6 months of the close of each year. Kudos to our county team. The county had a clean, unmodified opinion again for December 31, 22. And as a reminder, we'll be moving to 9/30, so we're right back into the audit process now. And the GFOA awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the county for its annual report ending 12/31 of 21. It usually takes them a while to get through this. This is our 21st consecutive year of that. And this is the highest, the Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in reporting, financial reporting. And it's a significant accomplishment every year to get that award. Fiscal Services are responsible for the reporting and presentation of the county's financial position to the bond rating agencies, and we typically use Standard & Poor's and Moody's each year. In '23, the county again received its AAA bond rating from both agencies for the 25th consecutive year. It's a very high priority for the county. This is the highest credit score and the quality of bond rating can issue, which serves as a financial indicator to potential investors of our ability to meet payments. This rating allows the county to receive the lowest interest rates if we ever issue bonds. There are 83 counties in Michigan. We're happy to be one of 3 rated AAA by both rating agencies, and that's Washtenaw, Oakland, and Kent. And then I believe there's another one if you include Moody's. It has an additional county. I believe it's Ottawa. So, and across the country, there are 3,143 counties. Kent County is one of 106 to be rated AAA by both agencies. So we're in a very elite crowd. Significant accomplishments, again, the new fleet garage was opened in September of '23 to support the county's growing fleet. Hopefully all of you have been out there to look at the facility. It's very impressive and will serve us long into the future. And then purchasing, I spoke a little bit about this before. Purchasing has hosted several networking events over the years to engage businesses, purchasing agents, and county departments, the most recent of which was on November 1st, and I believe Administrator Vandenberg kicked that off, and it was very, very well represented. And this brings our purchasing community together to get those solicitations that we're looking for, or the responses to solicitations. The accounting division facilitated the upgrade through CGI Advantage 4.0 this year. Hopefully most of you didn't realize that. It was mostly behind the scenes, but this was a significant effort for our team along with HR and IT. It was fairly successful. We had a few hiccups like we typically do in ERPs, but this will be our last major upgrade. As from now on, releases will be released ongoing, so we don't need to do a significant upgrade ever again for our financial software. So that was a big accomplishment by our combined teams. Again, looking forward, we're looking for another clean, unmodified audit opinion, the financial reporting award, AA bond rating, and standing up the risk insurance authority that was previously approved, but we're still working on the agreements and the election of the board members there, or appointment of the board members there. With that, I would be happy to take questions.
All right, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Okay. Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. There's a couple quick questions. So it's, especially towards the end of your presentation there, it looks like we're in a pretty well spot financially, the county is. You mentioned that our AAA rating allows us to get the lowest possible interest rates if we were to bond out. Do you have like an estimate, like if we were to do that now or in the next couple of weeks, like a range of the types of interest rates that we would receive on bonds?
I haven't looked lately. I know the difference is typically between a AAA and a AA, the next highest rating is like a 0.2 to a 0.3 basis points. I haven't looked at the current rates, so I know they're a lot higher than they were a few years ago with all the rates of Fed. I could look that up and get it back to you if you wanted me
Cool.
to.
And then my only other question is, would you say that that the county has, I guess, how are we faring compared to where we were a couple of years ago with the pandemic? Would you say that we're in a good spot, that that we've recovered, that we weren't hit as much or as bad as other counties were? What would be your
So it's interesting, with all the federal stimulus money that we received, with both CARES, it was $114 million, I believe, and then ARPA, $127 million. And really, we didn't see any substantial revenue losses. Some things went down small, but our increase in taxable value especially has continued to grow. So, no, I'd say we're at least in as good a position or better than we were during the pandemic. So.
Okay. That was it for me. Thank you.
Jeff, you may want to mention the difference, the projected difference between triple and AA and the airport bonds.
Oh, right, yeah. I believe when they looked at not using the county's AAA, they don't have their own standalone rating, but they were estimating they'd be somewhere around an A, maybe a BB plus. And some of the estimates were between 25 to 50 million in savings over the life of those bonds by using the county's AAA. So,
Jeff, I don't see any other commissioners' comments. Right, one of 3 seems impressive. as far as one of 3 counties in the state of Michigan that has the AAA. But I think what really stands out to me is one of 106.
Right.
Out of more than 3,000 counties. That's an impressive number, I think, for Kent County. It, tells us of what the work that your staff, and our commission and previous commissions before us, the work that we've all done to strive for that rating, be fiscally conservative. Some of your numbers on the 98, 99 percentile of efficiencies and accuracies within your department too. That's an impressive number. So I know how easy it is to push a wrong number on QuickBooks when I'm entering my bills. I think I made a $700,000 entry yesterday, and it was not supposed to be that. I think it was closer to 7. So I understand how quick something like that can happen. So that's a very impressive number as far as the number of items that you get accurate. And like you mentioned, having the paychecks correct, I think everybody appreciates that on payday. So again, really appreciate the presentation. Are there any other commissioner comments or questions? All right, just good work.
Thank you.
If you can let you and your staff know that, we appreciate it. All right. Amy is in the audience. So if you have any questions on the next couple items, the next item on our agenda is brought to us by the Human Resource Department, 2024 Management Pay Plan Compensation Program. Do I have a motion and support, please? Motion by Diaz, supported by LeGrand. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or concerns from either Amy or our administrator? Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. I was happy to see the parental leave put into this agreement. I'm just wondering if you could speak to what change that might represent over what our previous arrangement was.
At this point, we don't have any leave that is specifically designated for birth or adoption, so this is the first time that we've offered that. We do have other types of benefits, for instance, short-term disability, FMLA, which protects an employee's job rights but doesn't offer any kind of compensation, are probably the most common benefits that people use today. So this just kind of adds on and bolts onto that and gives people an extra 2 weeks off of work.
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful. I think it's going to be good in terms of, how Kent County looks to prospective employees, and I just really think it's the right thing to do for people's holistic lives. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I think Commissioner Packlow was first.
Thanks, Chair. Following up on that question, thinking about what is sort of the quote-unquote industry standard for parental leave, especially for birth parents, is there currently a mechanism by which a birth parent that works for the county could take, for instance, 12 weeks if they're accruing different kinds of leave? Just thinking about if we're sort of braiding things together, right? It's great that we are expanding the kinds of leave that we have and having protected kinds of leave for parents, but 12 weeks is a pretty typical kind of parental leave if we're doing that.
Yep, yeah, so depending on whether you're the person who birthed the baby or not, the situation works out differently. If you're the mom and you're birthing a baby, you're either going to get 6 or 8 weeks off automatically under our short-term disability plan, and then the 2 weeks would be bolted onto that. And then the rest would be a combination of paid time off, vacation, other types of leave banks that people had accumulated. People do also have the option, if they have the luxury of being able to afford it, to just take FMLA unpaid for the remainder of that time.
Okay. One other question, I noted that the tuition reimbursement cost was going up in terms of the per credit. I'm wondering if you could tell us some kinds of courses that are typically utilized or taken when utilizing those dollars. I'm just thinking about what's the amount that's reimbursed and how does that compare to the kinds of courses that folks are taking to better their tuition benefit?
Yep, so, and I'm going off of memory, but I believe we increased it from about $310 to $360, if my memory serves me correctly. So that doesn't cover the full cost of tuition if you're going to like a traditional four-year university, but it covers the whole thing if you're going to a community college, so you do have to kick in a little out of your pocket if you're going to the four-year university. People people go to school for all manner of things here. We have such a wide variety of career options. I mean, anywhere from nurses to police and we do have some subsidy of people who are in different programs who are looking to become certified police officers. You name it. I mean, people who are looking to be advanced in the court system all over the place. So it really does vary.
Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. You added a new high deductible health plan. How has that been received in terms of the enrollment since we just finished enrollment period recently?
We're actually doing a phased enrollment, so as contracts settle, we're going to be kind of doing multiple enrollments, so that we're still calculating the enrollments and the numbers for the first phase of it. But I can tell you, probably the biggest excitement is coming from people who worked in other organizations, and they're relatively new to Kent County, so they understand the benefits of the high deductible health plan. I think for our kind of more long-tenured workforce, it's going to be more of a educational and maybe a slow transition, but we're seeing probably the most excitement from the newer hires.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. Thank you.
All right. Any other commissioner comment? Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. And this might be kind of a combination question for you and for Jeff, but
Yeah.
seeing all of these things that are coming before us in this agenda, and I think when we passed the budget, I asked Mr. Jeff how much the county was paying in healthcare costs for employees in that budget, and I think the number was like somewhere in like 22 million, something like that. With these new contracts and these new updates, do we have an idea of how that's going to change, or how that's going to change the budget when it comes to healthcare costs for employees?
Well, Jeff and I really work very closely together, and along with Al, as kind of a three-legged stool when it comes to planning for contract negotiations. So nothing that we do is without the knowledge of Jeff and Al, and to the greatest extent possible, we try to incorporate the changes we know about into the budget process. In this one, Al actually brought the high deductible health plan concept from Ottawa County, so we were able to pretty effectively plan for that. I mean, I guess I'd have to double check with Jeff, but I don't think there were any budget shocks associated with our offering of this new plan option.
That makes sense.
Yeah, what they attempted to do is price it neutral to the cost of the other plans. So there's a slightly less, 5% less contribution from the employee, but the expected savings with the HSA are supposed to be a cost neutral option for the county. So we don't
I see.
anticipate a large change in our healthcare
I
costs
see.
overall.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other commissioner? Commissioner Hennessy, you look like you want to move that hand up, so Commissioner Hennessy.
This is done annually for the management pay plan, right?
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify if my memory served me right. You know, one thing that always struck me odd, and I'll just bring it out, is that it combines our professional and our management with clerical. And
Yeah.
it seems in some ways like an odd mix where you have, can you talk to that a little bit in terms of, does it really work together in terms of your bargaining?
Yeah, so the management pay plan, if I were to define what causes them to all be bucketed into a single group, it's that they are regular part-time and full-time employees who are not represented by a union. So that's really kind of the one thing that they all have in common.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other commissioners' comments or questions? I guess I just have maybe one for sure, maybe two. Again, remember, we are self-insured, so on our health care. But my question would be, and this might be something Al, Jeff, or Amy, you might have to dig for me.
Yeah.
What's our, do we have a stop loss? I'm assuming we have a stop loss policy, and is that
Yeah.
150, is that 250? What is that? And that would just be that we're responsible for the first $150,000, $250,000 of that person's health care within their family for that given year, and then we'll have another policy kick in. So I'm just wondering what that number is, and maybe who is that with?
I'm going to say I'm 99% certain of this, but I'll verify with our benefit experts to be 100%, and we'll get back with you with a written answer. But I'm 99% certain that we use Blue Cross for stop loss, and that we, as of 2024, are going to increase our specific deductible from 200 to 250,000.
Wonderful. All right, fantastic. If there's no other commissioners' comments or questions, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. That has passed, and we'll move on to the full board. Next item on our agenda, again, Human Resource Office, amendments to collective bargaining agreements for parks, assistant prosecuting attorneys, and attorney referees. Can I have a motion, please, by LeGrand, supported by Diaz? All right, commissioners' comments, questions, or concerns regarding this item on our agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? That has moved to the full board on the 7th of December. Next item from the Administrator's Office, add personnel to implement the lead hazard reduction capacity building grant from U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Did I miss one? I missed one, I'm sorry. I already checked one off my agenda here, so one more brought to you from the Human Resources Department. Labor Agreement Teamsters Local 214 Public Health Nurses. Can I have a motion, please? By Diaz, supported by LeGrand. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or concerns? Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. I was curious, this is one where you have across-the-board increases, but you also have market adjustments.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, for every job and every union where we're renewing the contract this year, we did a market study. And for some jobs, we're still pretty competitive with market, and for other jobs, we've fallen behind. And nurses, I would say the market for nurses is one of the most competitive markets that we have for any of the jobs that we have. Just with COVID, a lot of nurses retired. There is a shortage, and that has driven up the wages for nurses. So we did have to make some adjustments there.
So how do we stand in terms of filling positions? It's a little off the mark, but since you're making this adjustment, how do we stand right now in terms of vacancies, filling positions?
I'd have to get you the current count, but it has been challenging for a number of years to recruit for and to retain nurses.
This is a 5-year labor agreement?
Yeah.
Is that an extended period of time for what we normally do? I see it has to have reopen our provisions in it.
Yep, that's a good question. In 2019, we transitioned from 3-year agreements to 5-year agreements with wage reopeners for the last 2 years of the agreement. So this would be our second iteration of that duration.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to mention that when I got elected to this position, I was in the middle of unionizing with the job that I had at that point.
Yeah.
And with the job that I currently have, we are at the tail end of negotiations there. And so I know how important it is to have people in the bargaining or at the bargaining table who are there to bargain in good faith and who communicate very effectively. And I just wanted to commend everybody, all the administrative staff at Kent County. I've heard nothing but good things about the people who do that work.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to commend you because that's not something that happens everywhere or with every union that's organizing or that's at the bargaining table. And so thank you for that good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Any other commissioners? All right, if not, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. That will move to full board on the 7th of December. Now, from the Administrator's Office, add personnel to implement the lead hazard reduction capacity building grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by LeGrand. I heard a voice over there, so Commissioner Diaz. Okay. I heard a voice a little quicker. It sounded like Commissioner Diaz. All right, Commissioners, any comments or questions? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Chair. I was doing my favorite thing, which is doing some math here in these documents, and just wanted to make sure that I was clear. So the $2.49 million is coming into the county from HUD, and the dollars that are shown in our resolution are the total cost and benefits of those positions over the course of the grant, or is that per year? And depending on the answer to that question, I'm just trying to figure out what else is this grant paying for? And, because if I add those numbers up and multiply them by 3 the course of the year, I get more than the grant amount.
Right. Gustavo will address that for us.
Perfect, thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's for the course of the grant. We wanted to make sure we could time when we're going to be able to recruit those people, and then we did it based on the hours that they would potentially work throughout the grant. And so we try to make sure we could budget accordingly to that.
So then with that answer, I get about a 1/3 to 2/3 breakdown of the personnel on the grant and then the services or other costs that would be associated. Is that right then?
That's about right, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Any other commissioners' comments or questions while we have Gustavo up here? All right. Seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? That will move to full board on the subject. All right, next item on our agenda from the Administrator's Office, records, retention, and disposal schedules county-wide. Do I have a motion and support? Motion by Bujak. Support by Baker. All right, Commissioners, do we have any comments, questions, concerns regarding this one? Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. I know that record retention is probably one of the least fabulous discussions that we might have. I work for GE Aviation and very involved with record retention for engineering at GE Aviation. So this is near and dear to me, and I understand that it's important. So reevaluating on a regular basis and making sure that our record retention schedules, have been properly addressed and updated is important. And for the purpose of legal disposing of records that we don't need to keep around, it's all very important. So get those shredders going.
All right, Commissioner Hennessy.
I notice we're not reading the whole summary of what the resolution is, so perhaps we could have a little bit more of a explanation in terms of how all these different dates were arrived at. They're 1 year, 6 years, whatever, and some of the rhyme or reason to how you have this schedule developed. I think it's really a comprehensive schedule, and it's really, really interesting. Although it's hard to look at each one, but so maybe there are some overlying reasons and thoughts to this that we could understand.
I think the core of it is that the state sets a lot of those timelines, but Sangeeta has put a lot of time into this, so we'll let her handle this question.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sangeeta Ghosh, Assistant Corporate Counsel. The timeframes for retention is determined either by the statute of limitation, by law, or administrative reasons for retaining records such as correspondences and general training records, curriculums, and things of that nature. Also, there may be a historical need to retain certain records and fiscal reasons for retaining the records. So each of these record sets, we have gone through a process of reviewing what periods county is maintaining, and we are calibrating it to make sure that all of the departments are retaining the records on a uniform and consistent basis. And the state's approach is that the records of the county government or any other public bodies are retained in a uniform and consistent manner. It's very important from the standpoint of Freedom of Information Act, transparency, and accountability that we retain the public records in a proper fashion so that we can quickly and consistently release the record to the public as well. So it serves a very important purpose.
Just to follow up, you handle are FOIA requests. So is this also really consistent so that you can continue to handle those FOIA requests as they come in?
Yes, certainly, and that's a very important point that you make. The records retention schedules help us in being able to release the records quickly. It also helps our record creators, our employees, understand what records need to be retained for a certain period of time. Because if we get a FOIA request, we have got to satisfy that in accordance with the statute. So we cannot delete or purge records without an authorization under the disposal schedule. So it becomes extremely important that purging is in accordance to the schedule. Otherwise, it's frankly violation of the state law.
Thank you.
All right. Any other commissioners' comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes, all those opposed?
Thank you.
That has been approved. Commissioner miscellaneous. Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. At our last legislative committee meeting, I mentioned to you all the RIP medical debt initiative and how I was going to present to the executive committee. I did do so last week at their executive committee meeting, Tuesday at 7:30, if I'm not mistaken. Had a very good conversation with that committee and very good question and answering period during that committee. And an hour later at the Finance Physical Resources Committee, the resolution that was set or scheduled to come before that committee regarding our ARPA funds was removed from the agenda and postponed until the committee meeting next week, Tuesday. And so we're waiting to, I believe, hear back on some details from staff. But I also wanted to let you know that I found out this morning that a resident from Cannons Township presented to the Cannon Township board last night at their meeting, and the Cannon Township Supervisor Grimm, if I'm getting the name correctly, wanted to let us know that Cannon Township does support the initiative. And so they apparently don't have a meeting scheduled before our board meeting on the 7th, but they did want to relay the message back that they do support the idea and that they are willing to essentially partner with us to see what we can do to bring that initiative to Kent County. And so I look forward to having further conversations with you all and with our colleagues on the Finance and Physical Resource Committee. And as I have more updates, I will share those with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Any other commissioner miscellaneous? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.